Hi, and welcome to today's feature. Just going to talk about Skogens Hjärta. Album and meditation and ritual. Inspired by wanderings under the moon, recorded during a full moon, and the top of the sigil here represents the scythe, the harvest, and the circle underneath it, the moon. And this is one of the jaws from the fox that we found while we were preparing for the photo shoot for this album as well, and you can also see it here on my chest. So clearly to me this is a very important manifestation. It represents a turning point for myself as an artist and musician in terms of how I looked upon the process of composing, as well as once again after the previous albums that have been leaning towards this direction, daring to go further into the more instrumental realms of music and soundscapes and atmosphere, and not being forced to use lyrics and vocals, and put emphasis and importance on the structure of composition and where that beast can take you. Because it's a journey through the seasons and through the night, and a lesson in trust, trusting the night and wilderness to take you where you need to go. And this is an album that also was something that I composed between different stages of finishing the channeling of some surrounding releases like Gråtoner and Svenskt Vemod, and it was an album inspired by experiences that I've had in nature and on meditations and wanderings before I started to explore the realms of the occult and mysticism and old folklore, because that was about 2 or 3 years later when I moved to another part of Västra Götaland. But it's of course deeply inspired by many of my surroundings of where I grew up, which is close to Vartofta and Vårkumla, Varakumla, that got manifested a few years later. But those are by themselves also connected to several meditations and psychedelic experiences that I didn't have had or didn't have access to those tools when I was having these experiences in my past, is what you can call it, my previous self before psychedelia. But that itself, I think, makes this an interesting album also, because to me it has a highly psychedelic atmosphere, and it's deeply connected to those realms. And to the death of the ego and the self. And that, of course, though, are aspects that I had experienced and explored around almost a decade before that, through experiences in my youth connected to violent meditations, through alcohol and other tools of the trade. And why the album is what it is, it's something that I'll try to explain, but of course, as always, if you have further questions that you feel that I'm missing something, feel free to ask in the comments below. But I will do my best to cover what I can remember now, about 11 years after recording and manifesting this important album. So the way that it was recorded was that we borrowed the house or cottage nearby the mill where we used to organize Kvarnriten, which used to be where my mother lived, an old water mill next to obviously a waterfall and a couple of ponds. But electricity systems in those houses are a bit dated, so we couldn't have anything but candlelight and the full moon that was outside of the window while we recorded the album as a source of light, or the electric waves and currents in that old building would ruin the audio quality. And that's something we struggled with during the first recordings that we tried to make of Skogens Hjärta in that house earlier that year. That's why from those times there is a leaked version of the title track Skogens Hjärta uploaded by someone from that we shared and recorded. That was the only thing that survived those sessions, because there were some interferences. And for this recording we also hired some of our friends from Gothenburg to help engineer the album for us, so we could focus entirely on immersing ourselves into this ritual, which is why it's such a powerful manifestation, I think, because we were in a kind of a trance, drinking good beer, being surrounded by candles and the light of the moon, and recording all the instruments live in one take. And as it's a 6 to 8 minute long song, and back then our main release format used to be cassettes, so we divided this ritual in 2 parts, and that's the exact parts that are the A and B side of the cassette. And of course the CD version and what you can hear on the Bandcamp or YouTube is simply both of these rituals that we did perform in the same evening, one after the other. That's the actual manifestation. And the reason why it became what it is, or what it was, is because first I had ideas for a whole series connected to this concept of the heart of the woods. But with time and waiting for recording this album, I had started with the second part, and as I often do when I'm out wandering in nature and hearing these rhythms and melodies, one day I finally found the middle that connects these 2 parts and the ending, and I immediately knew that we're not talking about a series of conceptual EPs anymore, or shorter albums. This has to be a long, epic journey. So instead of dividing everything, we rehearsed the second part together with the first part, and then we recorded it. And my friend Johannes, who were the second guitarist on Skogens Hjärta, Gråtoner, and the first edition of Kaffe och Blod, as well as my guest artist and musician on my recordings of Sväva and Vart ofta Back onto the Suicide, was a very important part of this process as well, because I write more minimalistic, and he added the melodies to this album that became a part of our signature sound from then on, that we've had now for the past 11 years, which I'm deeply thankful for, that he showed me something that I now hear when I'm walking in nature that I didn't hear before. And that's one of the things that's so important about meditation and wanderings like this, and what you can learn through the manifestations of them. To always be open and listening attentively. To truly listen to nature, trusting the darkness, embracing the emptiness. This is still available in the shop at enjoy.com, that you can find if you click on the image. It comes with a handwritten certificate of authenticity by me, obviously. You can always find the album on CD in the shop too, or through our Bandcamp, or for free here on YouTube, of course. As always, thank you for watching. For any questions or comments that you have, let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to make follow-up videos answering any questions you have about this recording, or the time that it was made, or anything else for that matter. Thank you for watching. Take care.